Well, hey viewers, welcome back. I had someone in the comments section ask me the other day if I could lay out a Hess fitting. This is a Hess fitting. It's also known as a Goldberg or a Parker. If you want to know how to lay out one of these fittings, stay tuned. Okay, to make this fitting, we're going to be a 12 by 8, and it's going to reduce down to a transitional reverse to an 8 by 12, and it's going to be 16 inches long. And I'll show you how to lay that out. We start by getting our 1-inch working line added in here at the bottom. 1 inch up the side right here. I'm going to come back up the side with 3/4. And that's going to give me my 1/4 inch mark right there to start everything with. So let's lay out some points here. We're going to be 8 inches in for our side. Instead of just making this in like 4 separate pieces, we're going to make this the front and sides all in one. So we got an 8 inch right here. Okay. And then from 8 inch, we go to 12 inch. So let's mark 12 right there. Okay. 12 right there. Okay. All right. So from our 8 inch mark, we need to come over 8 inches. And this is going to be laying out our opening. So there's 8 inch right there. And we got to be 16 inches. 16 inches. So come down here, put your 16 on the working line, the 1 inch working line right here. And then you need to add 1/4 of an inch, which will give us our Pittsburgh flange. Okay. And then come over here to where we laid out our 12 inch line and do the same thing. Measure up 16 inches and 16 1/4. 16 right there. All right. So let's come back up here on that working line right here. We're going to put our 8 inch right there. All right. We're going to come here and we're going to add 8 inches. And then we're going to move it to, you know, actually we're not going to do anything. We're going to leave it there, 8 inches. Okay, so let's mark our 8-inch marks right here. Eight-inch mark right here to there. Go ahead and connect our 1/4 inch marks that we put up here earlier. These are all just reference points. They're going to change as we lay this fitting out, but we just need to get some reference points in. Okay, get that laid out. Come back down here to where your 12-inch was and go up here to your 8-inch mark there. And put your mark in there. Okay, now before we get too far, we need to make some references. So this is going to be point A. This is going to be point B. This is going to be point C. Over here is our point D, point E, and point F right there. Okay. So right now we need to lay out from our 1/4 inch marks there. We need to come down 12 inches because we got to have an opening that's 12 inches. Back it up 1 inch. Puts it on 11. Draw a line. And the same thing here. "12" Back it up 1 inch. Then we connect this. This is going to be our 1 inch part that we're going to fold out for our duct connection piece. And they do same thing here, go 1 inch on the side. One inch on the side right there. So what we did was we measured 1 inch off our BC line. All right. And then we need to do the same thing here, measure 1 inch off our DF line. we're going to cut this out. Okay, so we need to get our dividers out, and we need to measure our distance between A and point B. So we go up here to point C, and we get our divider there on point C. All right, and we draw a line there, right there. And this is going to be EF. This is going to be point G right here. Point G. We're going to grab a square. We're going to get our square on G because we need to measure it all the way across here. Okay, there's G, and we need to go ahead and finish this line all the way out to our EF line. So get it on there. Okay, so EF. If I keep it up against the ruler, we'd be better off. Okay. So now we're going to call this point H, and this is going to be point I. All right. So now we take G and go to H. So we're going to swing our arc. Right there. So start at C, swing to H. Okay. Go up here and grab our Pittsburgh flange. Swing and arc. Okay. So now we got an arc. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a square, and we're going to put our square on line EF, and get it down here to point E, like that. And then we're going to scratch us a line, square it off at EF at point E. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing at I, point I. We're going to square on line EF right there at point I. And then we're going to square out a line right there. Okay. All right. So here at point E on our new line that we made, we want to go 8 inches. 8 inches. And we want to give it a 1/4 of an inch for that Pittsburgh flange we're going to need. We're going to do the same thing up here at point I. Same thing, point I, 1/4 inch. Okay. Connect our lines. And you'll want to run your lines all the way down to the bottom of the metal. Okay. So we are now going to call this point J and this point K. All right. Now that we're pitched at this angle, we got to draw in our 1 inch on line EJ. So on line EJ, we need to add a 1 inch. Right there. And now we need to connect our 1 inch mark here to the 1 inch mark there. Okay, so there we are. Now we got our 1 inch, same as this 1 inch and that 1 inch. That's our new 1 inch. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we are going to take our dividers and we're going to measure IF with those dividers. Okay, so now we're going to, with F, we're going to swing a line out. Okay, and then we're going over here to K, and we're going to swing a line. This new point right here is going to be point L. And point L is how we're going to do our swing arc. Right there. So point L. Point L to K. We're going to swing it all the way up to point F. And then we're going to do the same thing from here with our 1/4 inch flange. Okay. So there's that. So note that this swing arc does go up above that 1/4 inch that we drew out here earlier. That's fine, because now this is on an angle that's going to equal out once we bend it and fold it. It's going to be the same height as this one over here. So you didn't do anything wrong if you've noticed that. That's just how it's going to work out. All right, so what we need to do now is we need to cut everything out. Okay, so I got everything cut out. I got the sides cut off. Now we just need to cut everything out with our snips. So we're going to start right here at point H, and we're going to cut out our radius. And we're going to fold line BC. So get your break on the points at B and C. Should already have that line there for BC, and fold it 90. Fold it 90. Okay. Great. Now, if your brake will lift high enough, then you should be able to slip that under. Line EF on here. Line EF. Fold 90 degrees on line EF. Open your brake all the way up. You should get that piece to come out. Just like that. Okay, so for my wrapper, I had to measure this side. Measured that radius. That gets me my length. And I got it laid out right here. And remember, the bottom is 12. So we want that right there. Now back it up an inch. Back it up an inch. That gives us right there. And then the top was 8. So on the edge right here, we set it our ruler to 10. because we got to have an inch on each side for a Pittsburgh. Back it up 1 inch. 1 inch. Right there. And then from here to here is our opening, which is 8 inches, and that's what we're looking for. So now we want to go to our outside line. Outside line, right there. I'll draw a line. This is going to be our cut mark right here. And I give you your 1 inch mark. Okay. So now we need to cut that out. Alright, so I went ahead and I got one side on, and I also folded my 1 inch tabs out. So now all I got to do is put the other side on, and then we have us a completed Hess fitting. So there it is, one Hess duct fitting, also known as Goldberg, also known as Parker. There's that one. And then I made another one that's a little smaller. And if you need this on the opposite side, then you just have to lay it out in reverse order. Well, there you go. 2 Hess fittings, different sizes. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you have any other fittings that you'd like for me to lay out and build, just leave a comment. And just remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.